This is Cybersecurity and M&A, a CISO's Guide by Paul Harragan. Go ahead.
Thanks a lot. I'll just start my presentation. Okay, first of all, thanks a lot for everyone who's joined the call. I'm hoping this is a lightning talk, so it's going to be very, very brief. I think I've got you guys for 20 minutes. Typically, I deliver this talk over a 3-day workshop. So as you can understand, I have kind of torn it apart slightly, and I've kind of just given it the bare bones. So a lot of information is going to be missing, but this, as a CISO's guide, I'm hoping to take you on a journey which the fundamentals will be there. Okay, so at the end, kind of key takeaways. Hopefully you'll be able to understand how important diligence is in the M&A process, and how to perform effective integration and what to look for. I think that they're the key takeaways. I'm a director at EY. I specialize in cybersecurity and M&A. I lead our pre-deal team across EMEA. So I've probably got about 200 deals under my belt. So a little bit of experience. So hopefully you'll take some lessons learned from this. Any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter at the Freud. DM me and I'll happily get back to you. Okay, so before we actually get into anything, mergers and acquisitions can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. But to define it in kind of a transaction context, it's an event, right? M&A can mean kind of, as you can see here, quite a few different things. So the way I would define M&A is an event, kind of a transaction that takes place across a capital agenda. And that could include an investment kind of from a PE firm or a venture capital, anyone investing in a business, a merger, so where two companies come together to create a better company, an integration, so where one company will acquire another company and consume it into its business to grow its platform maybe. Separation, for where a company actually decides to split for the greater business of the, greater good for the business. A carve out, which is where a sub portion of the business actually gets kind of carved out and maybe put into a separate entity, but the core business will still survive. Then there's divestment, so the company is kind of going to retire part of its business and put it to bed. And then you've got joint ventures, so where two investors come together to invest into a business for whatever reason. Okay, so we've got lots and lots of different possible scenarios. Okay, but the one we're going to focus on today is a integration. Okay, so I'm going to pick a scenario which we're going to lean on to learn from. Okay, right. So just to put this into context, there's to put a case study against kind of the importance of cybersecurity or information security and cyber defense diligence in M&A. The Marriott Starwood is probably the highest profile case study out there. In 2016, Marriott acquired Starwood Hotels for about just over $13 billion. So a large acquisition, with the plans to merge the hotel chains. Little did they know that back in 2014, some malicious actors actually gained unauthorized access to Starwood's kind of customer database. And managed to download all the credentials and basically sit tight. And it wasn't until the acquisition was final on the day of the merger that the breach was discovered by Marriott key security personnel. And they had to announce it because the regulations stated so. And Marriott stocks dropped instantly by 5%. And not only that, the US lawsuits took place of 12.5 billion in damages. The UK ICO basically went after them as well for negligence. And the reports basically came back and said, actually, if the Marriott had done effective cybersecurity due diligence within the M&A process, they probably would have spotted this. So it's a real hard lesson for the Marriott to learn, and a lot of kind of other businesses have suffered the same fate. Right, so there's just a case study there. Right, so to set the scene, this is what I want people to think about when we're going through the scenarios, right? So when we're going through the rest of the talk. So this is the scenario. Think of it like you're the CISO at a medium-sized business, kind of 250 employees, and you're based in the UK. right? In this example, I've chosen a office ergonomics business, and they sell kind of office furniture to large corporates, but they don't sell directly. They sell to, you know, they're a B2B business, so they sell via brokers to businesses, right? So they don't have any customer, key customer access kind of interaction. And what they've decided is they want to grow their business, right? So they want to acquire further reach. So in this scenario, they're going to be investing in a kind of a Nordic Scandinavian small, medium-sized business based in Oslo. They sell in the same industry, so kind of the furniture electronics business. So the kind of synergies there between the two businesses. But not only do they do B2B, they also do B2C. Okay, so they do sell to customers directly, and so the reason for the acquisition is because they've got the platform already, and you know they already sell across Europe, and so there's lots and lots of reasons why this acquisition and merger makes sense. Okay, so just bear this kind of scenario in mind. Okay, so this view here shows deal flow. Okay, so this is the investment life cycle. Okay, from start to finish, you've got pre-deal, which is everything that happens before the actual signing, or you know the investment is made into another business, and then you've got a post-deal, which is where you've kind of got a transition period, and then you've got the actual integration. So kind of think of it in two parts, but it actually takes place across 5 important steps. So you've got the M&A strategy. Okay, you've got when the target's been selected, you've got the due diligence, then you sign the business. Okay, then you've got the transition service agreement, which is where kind of, you know, you're to-ing and fro-ing against contracts and kind of working together over a period of time where the two businesses are getting ready to integrate. And then you've got the actual integration, okay, where the two businesses actually connect systems and merge together. Okay, but for a CISO, it's important to have to play a big part in every one of these sections. Okay, so, and it all starts at the M&A strategy. This is the first point. The first point of where a CISO needs to take place. So it's really, really important that they have visibility of the business's acquisition wish list. Okay, it's important to understand the operating model of your own business, where the business wants to be, kind of what's its short-term and long-term strategies, how it's going to maintain business, how it's going to grow business, what it's, you know, how it plans to achieve these goals. And maybe, you know, at the rate of the way technology moves, you know, it's easier to acquire, okay, in today's world, and to get that growth and that reach to other geographies. So it's really, really important that the CISO is actually involved in those conversations. And I know that in many businesses where CISOs don't drive efficiencies, you know, they're not, you know, they're not on that board level agenda. They don't get this. Okay, so it's important that if you are a CISO, you know, you do push yourself to understand these things, and also have visibility of the possible types of transactions that your business may be thinking of undertaking. It may be that, you know, we're in a, you know, the unprecedented times of this pandemic. You may need to re-raise capital. So your business may be thinking kind of what parts of our business could we be looking to sell off in order to re-raise some capital to sustain the life of the business. So it's very, very important to actually understand how the business is going to perform its short-term and long-term strategies for growth. Okay, so this part's key. The next part is around kind of when your business actually identifies, okay, we know where we want to be, and we think that company X is right for us. And so in this case of the scenario that I put forward before, the UK ergonomic business are now thinking that this company in Oslo are the way forward. There are synergy cases, there are efficiency cases, the operating model, you know, the industry is the same. We can leverage this new business to grow our platform, which makes complete sense. So from a CISO point of view, this is a great opportunity to actually start some reconnaissance on the business. It's a great opportunity to do some kind of open source intelligence on key executives, learn about the business, learn how they operate, learn about where they operate, what kind of data do they collect? Do they collect customer data? Do they collect data from Europe? Is GDPR a factor? Is, you know, do they go wider than Europe? You know, are they involved in the Americas? Lots and lots of potential, you know, widening of the threat landscape that you're that you're used to. If you only operate in the UK and you're now about to widen to the internet to sell to customers, well, your threat landscape is just completely, you know, widened to the widest point possibly. Geopolitical issues. I mean, people probably don't think this is a big thing, but I've been involved in kind of a few acquisitions in the past year where companies have thought, should we be investing in China? Should we be investing in Hong Kong? Well, crikey, there's an awful lot of kind of political tensions going on right now across those borders. In addition, in the Middle East, I've been involved in kind of oil and gas mergers, and you'll be surprised at the amount of tensions that there are across the Middle East and the sensitivities around actually performing these kind of deals. It causes a lot of friction. So understanding kind of those things from a security perspective are really, really important upfront. Okay. Another big thing is around kind of evidence of past security breaches. I mean, if for example, if a company were going to, invest in the Marriott, for example, let's just say they were going to buy out the Marriott for even more money, it's good to know that they've suffered huge breaches, not only in 2014 now, but also in 2018. Lots and lots of kind of media press and kind of, were they targeted? Are they a target for lots of adversaries? So it's really good to understand the attack vectors that people consider when thinking about these companies, right? So especially if you're going to be acquiring them, it's really interesting to understand. And the last thing here, at kind of a really high level, is their social media sensitivity and what that could mean for your brand. I've seen kind of several examples of where slanderous, malicious actors have set up campaigns to short the market, to short stock prices, making up fake campaigns to say, I don't know, the CEO's daughter was up to no good. And you'll be surprised that the markets are really, really sensitive to these kind of things. And it's good to understand if this business that you're about to acquire is sensitive like that. You can learn an awful lot of things from what's available kind of on deep web media, kind of on deep web forums. You can see if data's for sale there, right? You can see if the brand's going to be impacted by all those kind of things. Okay, so it's really, really important for a CISO to understand at this point what they're getting involved in, because it's that kind of feedback to the board that they really, really, really need to know about. Right, I need to move on quickly. Right, this is the most important bit: conducting effective due diligence. Right, and this is done in 3 stages. This is at the point where actually the business that you've identified know you're about to buy them. Okay, so you've got access to the business, you've got access to management, and you're allowed to kind of get feedback, and you're allowed to test, etc., etc. So effective due diligence is done in 3 kind of key stages. First of all, you need to know the historic value of the business. Okay, review back at least 24 months. Understand if any rapid technology growth has taken place, because often that's where mistakes happen, or security isn't considered upfront, right? And they're often fixed retrospectively, and it's often that's where mistakes happen. Identify frequencies of reviews. I mean, do they receive external audits, offensive, defensive tests? This kind of information is very, very important to build a picture of what the business has been through, how it's grown. Okay, and does it take security seriously, and has it invested the budget to actually cater for its growth over those years? Understand, if there have been any major incidents, because you may have learned that from the stage before, but now you actually get a chance to understand the root cause and the impact it had within the business. Kind of, it's kind of one of those things that, is it an incident? Did you have a playbook for it? If you had a playbook for it, then that's fine. But if you didn't have a playbook for it, then okay, that's a problem. And what did you do to fix it? How do you prevent this happening again? All those kind of things are really, really important to build a kind of historic picture. Right, the present. Okay, this is where you're going to do your understanding of the business operating model. You're going to do a gap analysis against a leading framework, be it NIST, be it an ISO, depending on whatever the business flavor is. You need to kind of gain a posture state of where the business is right now. Okay, you need to understand the risks and the gaps, that the business are currently in, because they're going to be integrating with you, right? You need to know how you are and how everything is, right? So understand what they control, review the data control and flow line. You need to understand all of that. Review the significant contracts with third parties that they currently have. How data goes in and out of the business is very, very important. Understand the external exposure. So kind of what their threat landscape is currently, what their ingress points are and how well they protect them. Understand the information security and cyber defense capabilities. What tooling do they have? Is it going to be compatible with yours? Is it sufficient? Do they have enough budget for it? All these kind of questions need to take place. Is there a human capital shortfall? This is a big one. You're going to be acquiring this business, and you need to know whether or not there are enough humans in this business with the right skill set that are able to lead that security practice for you. Okay,
So we have 5 minutes left, just to.
Okay, no problems. I can wrap this up. And the last point on diligence, right, is the future. You need to understand what's coming, right? So you need to understand the future strategy of your business. So where and how the business is planning to be operating, right? Is there going to be a transformation, rationalization, expansion program that needs to be integrated when these businesses come together? Lots of kind of software and engineering new capabilities are going to be coming in. Do you have the right teams in place? All of those concerns need to be addressed to understand your new threat landscape. And the main thing is you need to be able to define a business case for the short and long-term budget. Okay, so you're going to integrate into this business, and you need to know how much money you're going to need to repair the gaps and implement an effective security program for the long term. Okay, right, quickly we're almost there. So you sign the deal, you're happy with the diligence, you get into the TSA. This is where you can create blueprints for day one transition. You work with both teams. You need to develop and pre-identify synergy cases, which help you build the business cases and joint functions. You then need to implement key roles, because often the case is when two businesses come to merge, there's only one CISO role. So the CISO, you need to identify key personnel, right? Who's going to be staying on and who's going to be going out to pastures new. And, identifying that key personnel is really, really key. Okay. And understanding what contracts are really, really key to the business. And lastly, integration, right? This list could go on and on and on, and it really does depend on the business, but you've got to reconcile the differences in risk management, okay, and the cultures and approach, because you've got two businesses coming together that probably aren't used to working together. Add new feeds into your risk register, third-party vulnerability assessments from the outside and from the inside. Merging of InfoSec policies is very, standards and procedures is very, very key at this stage, because you've got new people coming that may not be used to the new way of working. Implementing of new tool sets, and start merging of compliance staff and budget. Crikey, that is a whirlwind tour, right, of security and M&A from a mergers and acquisitions point of view. I'm so sorry it's all handled within 20 minutes, but I'm hoping I've given you enough information that you can feel confident and go back to the slides to see if your business is going to go through anything in this pandemic, that you could refer back to this guide and go, okay, we need to do this. Thank you very much for listening. I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions if you've got any time, but if not, thank you very much for listening, and have a good day.
We had one comment about your beard. Said, what a beard. Awesome.
It's a lockdown beard. I can't get to the bars.
Thank you very much. That definitely was a lightning talk.
All right. Take care, guys.